Hey everybody, Eric Dorward here with the Spartan Rocketry Club, and we are continuing today with our build of the Estes Pro Series. So this is mid-power doorknob, which is a scale model, and it is well, it was a sounding rocket used for nuclear testing. So that's interesting enough. I have done half of the fins right now, but frankly I need a break because that's really annoying work. So the next bit I'm going to do is I am going to get to work on the exciting part that is the motor mount. So this is a 29 millimeter motor mount. This is the motor mount tube. First thing we need to do is get these rings out. If you really want to, you can cut out with the hobby knife, but I generally find that's not really worth the time. They usually punch out easily enough without any particular trouble. Although do be careful, be gentle. Just push where the burr is, and usually that's enough to get these things out nice and smoothly. You can twist a little bit too if necessary. You may decide you want to sand where that burr is as well. I generally haven't found that to be necessary, but every once in a while you get a particularly nasty one or one that didn't come out cleanly, and you know, it just seems like a good idea. Alright, so we've got two centering rings that are plain and one that has little notches in it. The one that has little notches in it is going to go in the middle, and the notch in the fin is going to interface like this. That means we need to be very careful about assembling this. It's got to be done just so, otherwise when we put the pieces together they're not going to line up, and the entire purpose of this, well, it's not going to happen. So I have the fins, the ones I've done and the ones I haven't, ready to go to help make sure that I do this right. Okay, so the first step that we need to do is, aside from that, is to find this piece right here. This is a really snug fit for the time being. So the instructions suggest that we get the nose cone. So I need the nose cone. Nose cone's huge, so I have it fairly far out of the way. Alright, so, and we're going to just push this on here, and kind of twist it a little bit, I guess. And this should, in theory, either loosen this up or spread it out a little bit. I don't entirely know, but that's the general idea. Hopefully I'm not going to like scratch up the nose cone in the process. It seems alright. And then, if I've done a decent job of this, it should be easier to get over the body, or the motor mount tube, which it's not yet, so let's try that again. Just do a little bit more to loosen things up. Just kind of push it farther down onto the nose cone here. We're just using the nose cone to kind of pry it apart. Alright, hopefully that'll be better. I don't know why this is necessary for this particular, well, for some of these, it just seems like it's absolutely necessary. Like the blocks here just aren't quite the right size. And it's still not the right size, and I'm concerned that I'm going to end up chewing this part up. So let's try it again. I'm just going to try pushing one direction this time. So maybe if I have it spread out on one face more than the other, that'll be good. Give it a try. Feels like it's, there we go. Almost. I felt like it was making some progress there, but it wasn't. Or it wasn't making enough anyway. Yeah, getting these very snugly fitting tubes over is always a potential challenge. So the other option is, if you're not having any luck with it, break out a little bit of sandpaper, and we can just smooth this up, maybe take a little bit off in the process. Because the last thing you want to do is mess up the motor mount tube, like the end of it, because you could potentially then have issues getting the motor in. Alright, I ended up taking some of the paper off by sanding, which would be fine too. I mean, I could remove a bit of the interior, so that would be an option as well. Alright, there we go. Okay. Lovely, it's on. The bad news is I have to take this off later, so kind of a bummer. All right, so what needs to happen is this right now is just acting as a spacer, and one of the two tubes, or one of the two plain, geez, one of these two guys needs to go all the way down, and the green thing again is just leaving the appropriate amount of space, and it's also making sure that this is perpendicular to the tube. So here's what I'm going to do. I've discussed how exactly I want to do this with regard to glue. I do want to be able to fly this with potentially with a composite motor that's going to put out more force than just a standard Estes gunpowder motor. So I'm going to reinforce this with epoxy, but not immediately. So at least for the time being, I am going to follow the instructions as written and use some wood glue. So right now, the instructions say that I'm going to apply glue to the back side of this right here. So essentially, I mean, I haven't put any glue down to date, so this is the only glue that's going to be holding it, which, let's face it, that is kind of troubling. You would think that you would want more than just a wee bit of wood glue holding the motor mount in place, and at least I do, so I'm going to use more eventually. So I'm just going to smooth this out. I'm making a bit of a fillet, which is nice too. Alright, so the instructions then say when glue is dry enough, I want to remove D. Well, I don't know how dry it would really need to be. All I need to do is like not bump the tube when I take it off. So can I do that? Yes. Boom. Alright. My gut tells me I want to put some glue on the outside here too, but I think what I'm going to do is end up going over a bunch of this with epoxy, so probably don't need to do that. What I do need to be aware of though is that this back end, the motor retention system is going to go on there instead. So there's not a lot of room there. I mean, you can see there's a bit of a crack, so I can definitely get some glue or epoxy in there, but not much. That's fine. Alright. The next part's going to be a little bit tricky, frankly, because I need to use... I don't want to bump this. I don't want this going anywhere. So in theory, I should probably wait right here, and I might actually cut this video a little bit short, but do some other stuff anyway, and let this dry. But for the time being, I'm at least going to put the next centering ring onto the tube, like so. And the downside of that green ring being on there in the first place was this got a little bit chewed up, which is going to make my life a little bit harder to get the other centering rings on, which is annoying, but what are you going to do? So on this goes. I'm going to be very careful here so that I don't bump that bottom one, because that bottom one actually matters. Eventually this is going to go in like so, so I'm going to push it down to where that crack is, but I am not going to worry about that right now. I need to reapply this thing. This is going to be a permanent resident right behind C. That would be this ring here. That's fine. Well, yeah, that's fine. It's just going to, I don't know. I mean, half the time these things are supposed to hold engine hooks in place, but that's clearly not what's going to happen here. This is just, I don't know what the purpose of this is, honestly. Probably, at least in part, it's supposed to make sure that I get everything perpendicular and, my goodness, nice and aligned. Boy, that's, ugh. Well, wow, that is pretty seriously stuck right now. That could be a problem, because this isn't like the end, well, I don't want it there. That's not where it goes. And I do need to get one more ring on, but it goes at the end, so annoying. Yeah. Okay, well, let's give it a twist and see if I can push it at all. I guess the other option is I could move this down and maybe that could... Yeah, there it goes. So, ending up kind of deforming this as I'm moving it around, which isn't great. So let's move it a little bit more carefully next time. Alright, now that this is going a little bit more freely, I'm gonna keep twisting it. Twisting it seemed to work just fine. So let's keep doing that. Now that it's down far enough. My goodness. This thing is not a friendly little green tube. It doesn't really like... it seems to like one direction. Not cooperative. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the final ring to encourage the green ring down to where I want it to go. Okay. Now, again, I really do not want to bump this, because it's where it should be. So, I need to move the middle ring down a wee bit. I'm going to scoot this up so I have room to work. I'm going to just ever so carefully adjust this down. And right now I'm only using one fin, but I'm gonna try to put as many as possible in here for a variety of reasons. But in case I have, not evenly, if this isn't perfectly perpendicular in all the directions, I'll be able to tell with multiple fins. Okay, so right now this looks pretty good. I've got it in the glue, which is kind of annoying. But that's not ultimately a problem. I'm going to put a couple other fins in here quickly just to check my alignment and my spacing. Again, this is not going to be a permanent feature, so if they fall out as I'm rotating them around, it's not really a problem, although it is mildly annoying. There's the other one. There's the other one. Okay, so that looks fine. I'm going to remove the fins, because I don't really need them to get gluey. And I'm going to now use the top fin again to carefully push the green ring down and center it. Okay. And then this is going to come back up because I'm going to glue that in place. Alright. One last check before I move on. That looks pretty good. I don't know if this bent a little bit, because it's not quite, it doesn't look like it's quite perpendicular, and this kind of thing does happen. I mean, it's only cardstock. But I do have some play, because the gap here is wider than the cardstock as well. So, yeah, this should be pretty good. But again, yeah, it looks like this whole thing is warped up a little bit. So I'm going to try to bend it down. Yeah, because ultimately I want to be able to have glue in here as well. Now, I'm not going to be able to glue in there when the rocket's all put together, but yeah, that's as good as that's going to get. Alright, now let's finish putting the regular glue in the places where it belongs. So I've used the fins as a test, so that's perfect, I guess. So now I need to glue both C and D, so I need to glue this thing and the green guy in place. So I'm going to clear out my glue here a little bit. It's a little slow flowing to begin with. But I'm going to put a fillet on top here. adjust that in momentarily. And then the next one is supposed to go right against the green, I guess, like so. I mean, honestly, wood glue is stronger than you might think it is, but I have a hard time believing that this is going to take much in the way of abuse at all, because typically when we glue one of these things together, the glue is in between the body, or the motor mount tube and the centering ring. Well, this is only next to it, so I would think that it's weaker than a lot of the typical construction that I would do. But whatever, that's why we can always resort to epoxy after the fact. Okay, so these two are in, and then the last thing we need to do is, and this is ironic because it says put glue down on the ring, so it thinks we should put some up here. We're going to put some glue right at the end, and yeah, it looks like it wants ever so slightly the tiniest bit of space, of not quite flush, which makes it slightly harder to do, but yeah, it's fine. But anyway, I'm going to put some glue down near the end of the motor mount tube, and then I'll slide the ring down into place, and then let's get rid of this. Don't really need the newsprint for the sanding. I usually keep it out for. Alright, so I think the idea here is that we should have a fillet on both sides of this. So I'm going to leave just the slightest, let's go down a little bit more. I'm going to leave just a little tiny bit, just enough of kind of a lip, so that I can have a fillet in addition to the glue underneath. And that should be fine. And now, of course, last but not least, at least for this segment, I'm going to put a fillet here as well. Now, I'm going to let all this dry, and at some point, probably next video, don't really entirely know my sequencing, I guess, at this point, I'm going to break out the epoxy, and I'm going to put some extra fillet in place. Because again, I don't fully trust this. I don't really think that this is going to be strong enough for everything that I want it to do. Alright, last thing I need to do is check. These should be perfectly perpendicular because I used this green ring. This one, not so much because I didn't. I'm just going to kind of like roll it like it's like an axle and see if it, just keep my eye on it and see if it's warping as I spin it. And it's not, actually, so it's pretty good. Alright, definitely needs to dry, and then we'll reinforce it. Alright, so thanks for watching. That was, I don't know, some minor frustrations in there, but nothing too bad. Alright, I will see you in the next video. See you then.